Let's have all this.
Yeah, we were worried on that one.
To get us back.
We had a kid, Norm thought his this was at 9. He wanted to join you two. And I said, oh, no, you need to come at 8. So, something like it happens.
All righty, big clap. Whenever you're ready.
All right. Bill's good?
Rested.
Perfect. Good morning and welcome. My name is Brian Geary. I serve as the chair of the Olathe Chamber of Commerce Business to Government Advocacy Committee. It's my honor to moderate today's forum, House District 121 here, and I welcome both of our candidates. The Johnson County Public Policy Council, which is comprised of the 10 chambers of commerce in the Johnson County area, developed today's questions, and they will focus on both business and community issues. So let's move on to the introduction of our House District 121 candidates. House District 21, first of all, is a pretty good-sized district, roughly bordered to the north by K10 and to the south, 159th Street, K7 to the east, county line to the west. So that's a little bit of Google Maps for you. But I want to introduce the candidates now in alphabetical order. First, our Democrat candidate is Mel Pinick. She grew up in an Air Force family, traveled the world from England, Germany, Florida, and Arizona. She's born in Tucson, Arizona, graduated from Leavenworth High School. She earned an associate's from Kansas City, Kansas Community College in 2007, and Mel resides in Olathe with her husband and 2 children. Welcome, Mel. And our Republican candidate, John Resman. John attended William Patterson University in Wayne, New Jersey, and in 1976 volunteered for military service in the U.S. Army, was stationed at Fort Leavenworth as a military policeman, correctional specialist, while attending Park University. He then joined the Kansas National Guard, became a correctional officer with the Federal Bureau of Prisons in Leavenworth, and then transferred to Otisville, New York, at the Federal Correctional Institution. Since retiring in 2010, John served on the Johnson County Charter Commission, participated in Meals on Wheels program, has worked part-time in the Johnson County Park and Rec District. John has been married to his wife, Elizabeth, for 43 years. John, welcome. Thank you. Here. Both of you, again, thank you for taking the time to participate in today's forum. We'll start with 3-minute opening statements from each candidate, followed by a Q&A session that will have 1.5 minutes for each of you to answer each question. At the conclusion of the forum, the candidate will have 2 minutes to give a closing statement. Due to time constraints, there are no formal rebuttals, no follow-up questions, no audience participation. But please note that we also did candidate speaking order in a predetermined drawing, if you will, to rotate questions with both candidates here. So we'll start with our opening statements by each candidate. John, you will go first to present your opening statement on why you are running for office.
Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to first thank the Olathe Chamber for hosting this forum this morning. I am John Resman, and I currently represent the 121st District. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. My entire life has been dedicated to public safety. After high school, I attended William Patterson University for 2 years before volunteering for military service in the United States Army stationed at the USDB at Fort Leavenworth, where I attended Park University. Following military service, I became a correctional officer at the Federal Bureau of Prisons at Leavenworth and joined the Kansas National Guard. After 3.5 years with the Bureau of Prisons, I began my career with the Johnson County Sheriff's Office and retired as a captain in 2010. I spent most of my career in the Detective Division with the Sheriff's Office, and I was a member of the Kansas City Metro Squad in the Johnson County Officer-Involved Shooting Team. During my time with the Sheriff's Office, I played an integral part in the development of the Sheriff's Office Crime Scene Unit, Computer Forensic Unit, and the Sexual Predator Unit, all first for Johnson County. Following my retirement from the Sheriff's Office, I became a member of the Johnson County Charter Commission. I also participated with a group of citizens and law enforcement officers that met monthly to work in legislation to rescue women from sexual trafficking. I was the only legislator within this group. In the legislature, I served on federal state affairs, correctional and juvenile justice, and vice chair for transportation and public safety budget. I currently serve on the statewide multi-branch communities practice that deals with mental health issues that was mandated by the Kansas Supreme Court. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mel, please, your opening statement. You have 3 minutes to present and tell us why you're running for office.
Absolutely. Thank you. I want to thank everybody that was involved in putting this together. I know you're dealing with a ton of schedules, and it takes you really develops organizational skills to pull this off. So I appreciate that. Like you said, as a proud military brat, I kind of thought I was going to keep moving around once I was on my own, and I just kind of love growing up that way. It really taught me about creating community where you are and getting to know people and realizing, we have more in common than we don't. And it just so happened that once I did get graduate and get into the workforce and kind of making my own connections, and I fell in love with Kansas. I love the way people are here, and we want to take care of each other. We make sure that everybody, our neighbors are safe and okay. And then as long as you're not harming anybody, we just want you to do what makes you happy. And so I fell in love with that, fell in love with the good old Kansas boy, and married into a wonderful extended family. So got family all over Kansas now. And I didn't ever think I would be in this seat running for this office, except through some really tough personal experiences that I had starting right when I had my son. He's 7 now, but my company didn't have any maternity leave program. So I burned through all of my time off, took another 6 weeks unpaid. And when I went back, I made it my mission to make sure that everybody knew how hard that experience was. And what I found out was that part of the reason we didn't have a policy was because a lot of the people in charge had no idea what it was like. And a lot of them had no idea that we didn't have a policy because it didn't really apply to them. And I worked a couple of years in my company after my daughter was born and we were done. And then we finally got it implemented at work, and they give 12 weeks fully paid now. Even though I've never been able to benefit from it, that just sparked a need for me, or a passion, I think, in turning my pain into purpose and helping to make things better for other people. And that's what I want to do kind of with the working family voice and bring that to legislature.
Thank you. We'll move on to the Q&A portion here. And each candidate, again, will have a minute and a half to respond to each question, and we will rotate who goes first each question. So, Melly, we'll start with answering the first question. What are your views on state tax policy, being as specific as you can?
Absolutely. This I get to talk to people a lot about while I'm out meeting neighbors in the community. And really, the thing that I'm hearing the most is that we need support. Families need support. Retirees need support. And it's property taxes. I'm sure everybody's familiar with this. And I know a lot of our current legislators will say there's not a lot that we can do to reduce property taxes, and which is true. That's usually taken care of by the counties, but there's a lot of things that we can do. I would support redoing some sort of revenue share between the state and the localities. I would encourage us to accept more federal funding in the way of grants. We're actually one of the lowest states to do that. And expanding Medicaid and fully funding special education would actually help too, because the uncompensated care gets passed off to the localities. And same thing with the school, the special ed education services that they are legally required to offer and provide. When it's not funded by the state or the federal government, then that just comes out of the general budget. And that's when you see property taxes go up to cover that too.
Thank you. John, I'll ask you the same question. What are your views on state tax policy, being as specific as you can?
It's widely known that Kansas has some of the highest tax rates for both personal and corporate units compared to the neighboring states. Bordering states have lowered their tax rates over the past 4 years. Lowering tax rates will make Kansas more attractive for startups and businesses to relocate. You see this happening in different states throughout the country where corporations and people are moving from high tax states to low tax states. With a surplus and a rainy day fund, tax reform was long overdue. Except for property tax relief, we finally passed tax relief for Kansans. This past session, we increased the standard and personal deduction, we eliminated the Social Security tax, and we doubled the child care dependent tax credit. Next session, tax on property will be a number one agenda in the tax committee. Lowering property tax for seniors and people on fixed incomes to help them remain in their homes. Income tax relief will help families with their budgets and will stimulate our economy.
Thank you. And Johnny, I'll answer this question first. What are your views on K-12 education funding and accessibility?
K-12 education funding is the responsibility of the legislature along with our federal and local partners. Each year, the legislature has increased funding as part of your agreement with the Supreme Court settlement. In 2012, the legislature passed House Bill 2553, which allows parents to find the best educational experience for their children. It will allow students to select and transfer, if an opening is available, to another district, giving that student the best opportunity to achieve their best education possible. The current finance formula is set to expire in 2027. Senate Bill 387 was passed this session. It establishes a task force to review the current school finance formula. The task force will provide recommendations to the governor and the legislature by January 2027 to establish a new formula. I think everybody can agree that the current formula is outdated. So hopefully this will increase funding and will set a new formula, which every year is a fight in the legislature.
Thank you. Mel, I'll ask you the same question. What are your views on K-12 education funding and accessibility?
Absolutely. I think that K-12 education, public schools are really the foundation of our future. And I believe that we should be funding them as efficiently and effectively as we can without the need for a court battle to settle this. And I disagree with any attempt to take public funds and to go to private schools. I believe public funds, taxpayers do not get a choice on paying them, and we should have as much control over how they're spent via the elected officials, school boards, things like that, where you don't get that accountability in private schools. I also think that we should fully fund special education to the 92%. That's required, and we, in doing so, we should also trust our education professionals to manage their curriculum, in accordance with the school boards, without micromanaging them or holding funds over their heads. I think that we should just trust our teachers, trust our professional educators, and provide them with the resources that they need.
Thank you. Mel, you'll answer this question first. What types of economic development policies do you support that would encourage job growth and business expansion in Kansas?
Thank you. I think the healthy business sector is really great for all, the entire community. I've been pleasantly surprised on the positive impacts with the Panasonic project that's going in. It actually looks like that will be more positive than was originally projected. I'd also support, incentives for public-private partnerships. Also, I think legalizing cannabis will help. We're a farm-raised state, and just let's let our farmers do what they do best. I'd also like to incentivize upgrades. For speaking of farming, for incentivize through grants for upgrading more modern, sustainable farming practices.
Thank you, Joan. I'll ask you the same question. What types of economic development policies do you support to encourage job growth and business expansion in Kansas?
We are currently in competition with 49 other states to bring businesses to our state. At state level, using innovative programs like attracting powerful economic expansion like Apex, they can bring major corporations and associated businesses to consider Kansas and encourage job growth. Apex allows Kansas to become more competitive. During the 2024 special session, the legislature passed a modified STAR bond bill that would give the Department of Commerce a seat at the table to begin the process of possibly moving a major league sports team to relocate in Kansas. This modified STAR bond is only good for 1 year. What's probably most important is the ability for cities and counties to act on their own, attracting startups and businesses to relocate without state interference.
Thank you. And John, you'll answer this question first. What would you do to grow and develop the state's workforce?
Legislation like the Promise Act scholarship that offers students who attend Kansas community colleges, technical colleges, that offers scholarships for the most needed employment fields. Economic developments like Apex have helped businesses connect with local community colleges to assist in training, technical assistance, and education opportunities, keeping our workforce in Kansas. Altering STAR bonds for special projects with large corporations we need to relocate into our state that benefits all of us. Serving on corrections and juvenile justice, one of the overlooked workforce development programs is with the Department of Corrections. Currently, the Department of Corrections offers welding certification, forklift certification, and currently has developed a CDL apprenticeship program. The 2024 legislature committed matching funds for public-private funds to build and equip the Lansing Correctional Facility Career Campus. Campus will serve as a workforce training center offering a broad range of adult education, career, and technical education. And we have to remember that 95% of the people that are sentenced to the Department of Corrections will be coming back out into our community. And currently, with the welding program, which is in Cabela's over high demand, they're having a pretty good success rate of training and getting these people back in the workforce when they leave prison. So this is, I think, one overlooked aspect of building our workforce.
Thank you. And Mel, I'll ask you the same question. What are your views on the state's role with respect to developing state's workforce?
Thank you. I'm going to add his last point to mine because, like you said, it's often overlooked, and it wasn't a thing that I had come across before, but I entirely support that, helping folks get reintegrated, and when they have the career skills, that's going to help them just stay a productive member of society. As far as our workforce goes, I think in Kansas, we have a lot of systemic issues that are contributing to this. We are ranked 42nd in the best states to work in. And I think a lot of those are things that we in the legislature can help improve. Things like health insurance reform, childcare costs, paid leave, the worker protections. We actually, including just, I know we're going to talk about local control later on, but I just recently found out that we have a law that prohibits localities from making their own minimum wage. And then I think that's kind of giving that local control to the localities would be a positive thing for our workforce.
Thank you. And Mel, I'll ask you this question first. What are your views on the state's role with respect to ensuring access and affordability of post-secondary education?
I think that this is a very good, mutually beneficial opportunity at providing the low-cost, affordable education is good for our students. It's good for attracting new students to Kansas, who will then, I very confidently say, fall in love with Kansas like I did, and then go into our workforce. And it will also help give the state as a better economic outlook as well. So I think that there are only positives to doing this, and I think that should be a priority, especially when we talk about the developing the workforce.
Yes. Good.
Thank you, John. I'll ask you the same question. What are your views on the state's role with respect to ensuring access and affordability of post-secondary education?
The high cost of education limits the access to education. Programs like the Promise Ag Scholarship that offer students the chance to continue their education at little and no cost. Public-private partnerships can assist students with affordability and help gain full employment. Reducing the cost of education by eliminating unnecessary classes required to earn a degree. Another thing I could think of would be holding higher education institutions accountable for the funds that they receive. Allowing high school students to earn a college credits while attending high school. Students should consider community college. Parents should consider 529 education savings plan, help bring down the costs. I think what's really important too is for students to have employment opportunities upon graduation.
Thank you. And Johnny will answer this question first. There's been a lot of discussion about foreign land ownership and foreign leasing, as well as purchasing equipment containing foreign manufactured parts. What factors do you consider when attempting to balance national security concerns with free enterprise and private property rights?
Private property rights is a fundamental right that allows owners to do what they will with their property. National and state intelligence agencies don't offer shared information, making these type of decisions difficult, but they always tell us that there are security concerns. We have heard of ransomware attacks extorting money from businesses, hospitals, and government, and hackers stealing our personal information. Vetting individuals and businesses that are considered adversaries of concern to national and state agencies should occur to secure our security. Several state representatives that currently serve in the House have military experience and have connections with the intelligence community that offer insight. The state of Kansas has an organization that assesses threats, and it's known as the Fusion Center, which serves under the Kansas National Guard. For the past two sessions, the legislature has increased both the number of analysts and the funding for this organization. Recently, we've seen Russia cyber attack our Kansas judicial system, which enabled it inactive for several months. The federal government has recently passed a law requiring the sale of TikTok. And recently, a former staff member from the East Coast governor had an association with a foreign adversary government. With security threats like this happening both at the state and federal level, there must be some type of concern that we should all pay attention to.
Good. Thank you. Mel, I'll ask you the same question. There's been a lot of discussion about foreign land ownership and leasing as well as purchasing equipment containing foreign manufactured parts. What factors do you consider when attempting to balance national security concerns against free enterprise and private property rights?
Great. I am thoroughly confident in the abilities of our federal government and our military intelligence to safeguard our national security without the need for the legislature to step into private sales. I think, like Rep. Resman said, it's private property rights are really a very important thing. Kansans don't take kindly to stepping into their private lives. And not only does that take away the rights of somebody to purchase land, you're also stepping in and telling a private citizen who they can and cannot sell their property to. And I don't think that that is the proper place for the legislature, especially when we've got very capable federal military resources going to make sure that we protect our national security interests.
Okay, thank you. Melly will answer this question first. What are your views on healthcare policy and Medicaid expansion?
I'm going to take
Yeah, you're good. You're
back to back. So I am strongly in favor of Medicaid expansion. Not only is it really the right thing to do, like I said, Kansans, we take care of each other, and we want to make sure that everybody's okay, and that's doing, that's going to be, if somebody's having a hard time accessing health care, that is just, that's going to impact every other aspect of their lives, and it all impacts us all as a community. So not only is it the right thing to do, it's humane, it will help the economy. We are giving our federal taxes are going to pay for Medicaid expansion in other states, and Kansans are sending their hard-earned money to other states, and we're also paying more in healthcare costs at home because of it. There's studies that show, and 40 states have already done this, that when you expand Medicaid, it lowers the cost of healthcare for everybody because that uncompensated care goes down, and that doesn't get passed along to everybody in extra costs.
Thank you, John. I'll ask you the same question. What are your views on healthcare policy and Medicaid expansion?
Medicaid is intended to offer health care for low-income, elderly, and disabled Kansans. Kansas offers health care insurance assistance for about 340,000 individuals that are considered low-income or truly needy through CanCare. Other states that have expanded Medicaid have learned that it pushes individuals off of private health care and onto Medicaid services that offer lower quality care and limited access to providers. Kansans can receive health care through the Affordable Care Act, the ACA, and in Kansas there are 8 companies and 98 different plans. Based needing assistance, the ACA offers premium tax credits and extra savings of out-of-pocket costs like deductibles, co-payments, and co-insurance. Recently, a bill was introduced in Congress to help make the ACA insurance plans cheaper and make enhanced tax subsidies permanent at adding 0 premiums. Kansas is currently providing health care for individuals that need it the most. Medicaid services should be protected for the truly needy, frail, elderly, and disabled as intended.
Thank you. John, you'll answer our final question here first. How the control over decision-making is divided among the state legislature and local governments, which includes local school boards, on issues such as taxation, economic development, and education has been a matter of debate. What are your views on this issue?
Our residents play an important role in how local government responds to everyday needs. This is about local control, home rule, charter commissions that help local officials make decisions. What works in one community does not work in another. The legislature involvement should address issues that affect the entire state and should avoid local issues whenever possible. I know this is difficult because many residents, and I've heard from them, believe that the legislature at times should control or override local government on issues. With the legislature meeting for only 90 days a year, it would be difficult to make decisions on every issue involving local government. School boards, city and county government have elected officials that hold hearings for community input, vote on local issues, and have the authority to make decisions that affect the community that they represent.
Thank you. And Bill, I'll ask you the same question. How control over decision-making is divided among the state legislature and local governments, including local school boards, on issues such as taxation, economic development, and education has been a matter of debate. What are your views on this issue?
I think that we should err as much as we can on the side of local control. And like I've said before, Kansans don't like to have people in their business. And if we want to have something different than another community, we've got our elected officials, and we should be able to really cultivate, the kind of community and the services and the education that is applicable to us here versus trying to fit everything in, the square peg that the legislature will have to do because they're looking at a much larger, broader area. So I think that's really important that citizens have the control to petition their local governments to make their community the way that the community wants it to be.
Thank you. And that concludes our Q&A session. So we'll move on to the closing statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to present their closing statement. Make sure you please highlight what most distinguishes you from your opponent. And Melly, you will go first with your closing statement.
Sure. So a big part of why I'm running is because I feel like the experience of working families in today's climate is not very well represented. And getting to know people in my district, it's not easy right now. Things are kind of hard raising a family in the current climate that we live in. I have the personal experience of doing that, of having a kid in public school, of trying to manage chronic health conditions, arguing night and day. Got a voicemail right now from insurance, and all of these things add up, and they're policies that greatly impact our lives. And I just believe that there should be somebody who has that firsthand knowledge of how these policies impact us and who can relate to others that are, not experiencing necessarily the same things, but similar. I feel like the hardships that I've been through, seeing my husband through cancer treatment, and just things that's allowed me to connect more with the hardships that other people are going through and how the state policies impact our lives. On the professional side, my entire career has been about listening to understand people and identifying their need or problem, working collaboratively to find a solution and make sure the solution that gets implemented is the one that solves their problem. So I think those are the things that I think make me a good fit for a legislature in today's climate.
Thank you. And John, you also now have 2 minutes for your closing statement. We ask that you highlight what most distinguishes you from your opponent.
It's been a pleasure to be here today. I'd like to thank the Chamber again for hosting this forum. And to the voters of 121st District that have entrusted me to represent them and to speak for the past 8 years. Having lived in Johnson County and in the district for over 40 years, I've seen tremendous growth both in population and in business. As you heard by my opening statement, some of my answers to questions have been experienced and institutional knowledge through the legislature. Through my law enforcement experience, I can offer opinions, introduce bills involving law and public safety, which is the number one responsibility of government. As you heard earlier, when I was at the Sheriff's Office, I started 3 units that were at first in Johnson County. Since 2018, I have been pushing for the establishment of the Juvenile Crisis Intervention Centers into operation. As of last month, after 6 years, the center received its temporary permit to begin operations. Johnson County is the first county in the state to have an intervention center, and in fact, it resides in District 121. Returning to Topeka, I plan on introducing several pieces of legislation that will add additional safety and security to Kansas. I encourage voters of the district to contact me through my legislative email with their concerns, questions, or needing assistance for state agencies. And once again, thank you.
Thank you both. That concludes our forum for House District 121. I want to thank both candidates, John Resman and Mel Pinick, both for taking the time to take part in today's forum and also for your willingness to serve our community. So thank you both for those things. And on behalf of the Olathe Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank everyone taking advantage of this important opportunity to learn more about your candidates. For more information about these candidates, other candidates, videos of this and other candidate forums, and advanced voting details, please visit www.votejoco.com. And please share this voter resource with your colleagues, friends, family, and others interested. And with that, thank you again for attending and watching, and we are adjourned. Thank you both.
Thank you.